Welcome back, everyone. Ready to dive into some more fascinating ancient texts?
Always. What are we looking at today?
Well, today we're exploring some excerpts from the Brahma Purana.
Okay.
It's a major text in Hindu mythology, and we'll be focusing on this really interesting story of King Indradyumna and his, all-consuming desire to see the god Vishnu.
Interesting.
Yeah, it's a story that goes way beyond just the surface level of a myth.
Oh, yeah.
It gets into some pretty deep questions about things like devotion and existence and,
Right.
the search for meaning and purpose.
I can see how that story would be a good way to think about those things.
Totally. And it's really captivating how the Brahma Purana uses this very human experience of longing and desire
Yeah.
to explore these really profound philosophical ideas.
Yeah, definitely. Like Indradyumna's journey is a powerful way to help understand some of those complex ideas.
For sure. So to kind of set the scene a little bit,
Okay.
the story starts with King Indradyumna. He's just completed this massive ritual. It's called the Ashwamedha Yagna.
Oh, wow. I've heard of that.
Yeah, it's this huge, elaborate ceremony, and it was basically like the ultimate display of a king's power and piety.
You couldn't get much bigger or more important.
Right, and you'd think he'd be, totally on top of the world after that, right?
It would seem that way, yeah.
But that's not what the text tells us at all.
So what does it say?
Well, it actually describes this growing emptiness inside Indradyumna.
Wow.
Like, he's achieved worldly success, but it hasn't brought him any real fulfillment.
Interesting.
And now he's just consumed by this, really intense yearning to actually have a vision of Vishnu.
Okay.
Vishnu, of course, is the preserver and protector of the universe in Hindu mythology.
Right.
So this longing that Indradyumna is feeling, it's so profound, it's affecting him physically.
How so?
He can't sleep, he can't even enjoy food or music or anything.
Wow.
He's starving, but it's the spiritual hunger that he's experiencing.
That's an interesting way to put it.
But wait a minute, wouldn't a king like Indradyumna already have everything he could possibly want?
It's like palaces and riches and power. Why is there this desperate longing for something more?
Well, that's the core question that the Brahma Purana seems to be exploring.
Okay.
It's suggesting that there's another deeper level of fulfillment that you just can't find in worldly possessions or achievements.
So it's something beyond the material world.
Yeah, and Indradyumna's longing reflects this universal human desire to connect with something greater than ourselves.
Connect with something transcendent.
Exactly.
I mean, this longing that he feels, it drives him to some pretty extreme measures, doesn't it?
Oh, absolutely. He becomes totally obsessed with finding the absolute perfect material to craft a statue of Vishnu.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, the text mentions him agonizing over this question.
What question?
Is stone worthy enough? Or clay? Or wood?
Oh, I see.
It's as if he's trying to capture the divine in physical form.
Which is a pretty difficult task.
Yeah, it really highlights those inherent limitations in that kind of pursuit.
So he can't find solace in the material world?
And he's desperate for some kind of connection with Vishnu.
Uh-huh.
But how can he do that?
Right, he can't just call Vishnu on the phone.
Exactly.
So he turns to prayer, but not just any prayer.
Okay.
Indradyumna offers up this incredibly beautiful and elaborate hymn.
To Vishnu.
Directly to Vishnu. A hymn called a stotra in Sanskrit.
Interesting.
And here's where it gets really fascinating. He doesn't just address Vishnu by one name.
So he uses more than one name for Vishnu.
Yes. He calls upon him using all these different names, each highlighting a unique aspect of Vishnu's power and his personality.
So it's he's trying to grasp the fullness of Vishnu through all these different names.
You got it.
So what are some examples of these names?
Well, for instance, he calls him Janardana.
And what does that mean?
It means he who grants boons to people.
Oh, I see.
Which kind of shows us just how desperate Indradyumna is. He's pleading for a solution to this huge existential crisis.
He thinks Vishnu has the power to answer those really deep needs. So we've got all these different names. And there's also this idea about Indradyumna seeing Vishnu's various forms.
Yes, the avatars. This is another really important part of the story.
Oh, what are the avatars?
Well, he recognizes that Vishnu manifests in the world through these different incarnations.
Oh, right.
And each avatar has this specific purpose.
So it's looking at this incredibly rich tapestry of stories across time,
Yeah,
all showing how the divine is active in the world.
exactly.
Can you give us a sense of what some of these avatars represent?
Sure. Like take Varaha, for example.
Okay.
He's the boar who rescued the earth from the ocean.
Oh, wow.
It's a really powerful image of Vishnu preserving the world.
I can see that.
And his strength and his commitment to keeping that cosmic order.
Yeah.
And then there's Narasimha.
Who's that?
Well, he's the fearsome man lion.
Man lion.
Yeah, he defeated this evil demon king.
Wow.
So this avatar represents Vishnu's power to protect those who are devoted to him
Okay.
and to overcome evil in the world.
Got it. So each avatar is like a different side of Vishnu's personality, a different way of understanding his actions.
Exactly. And through all of this, Indradumna is trying to understand the vastness of Vishnu's power and influence.
It's more than just seeing Vishnu. It's understanding his role in this big cosmic drama.
Right.
It seems like this yearning to understand Vishnu takes Indradumna past his own personal desires.
It does. He starts to think about this really profound concept called samsara.
What's that?
Well, samsara is the endless cycle of birth, death, and rebirth.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, he talks about it as this never-ending process of suffering and change.
Like being stuck on a Ferris wheel you can't get off of.
That's a great way to put it.
Yeah.
And the thing is,
Yeah.
Indradumna is realizing that this cycle of samsara, it affects everyone.
Oh, wow. So he's not alone in feeling this way.
Not at all.
Yeah.
And that leads him to this really profound realization.
Which is?
He realizes that despite everything he knows, despite all his experiences,
Yeah.
he's still lost in this vast ocean of existence.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, he needs help. He
Mm.
needs a way to escape this cycle of suffering.
And that realization leads him to turn to Vishnu for help.
That's exactly right. It's a desperate cry for grace from Vishnu, the only one who he believes can truly help him. It's like he's admitting that even a king with all his power and privilege can't escape those big questions that we all face.
Yeah, it's like he's laying bare his soul and saying, hey, I'm lost too.
Exactly. And it makes you think, what does he think the answer is? Where does he go from there?
That's a good question. Well, if Indradumna is so lost, what does he think is going to get him unlost, so to speak? What's the way out?
He believes that devotion to Vishnu is the only path to liberation.
Okay, so he's not just asking for like a glimpse of Vishnu or something like that.
Right. It's much bigger than that. He's asking for ultimate freedom, moksha. Isn't that what it's called?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
He's realized that all the success in the world, even all the philosophical knowledge he could gather, it can't give him real peace.
It's a pretty radical idea, isn't it? That
Yeah.
only by surrendering to something bigger than yourself, by aligning yourself with Vishnu's will, that's the only way you can truly escape the suffering that's inherent in that cycle of samsara.
So this idea of devotion of bhakti,
Yeah.
it's not just about like worshiping a god or saying prayers.
You're right. It goes way deeper than that. The Brahma Purana describes bhakti as cultivating this really deep, loving relationship with the divine.
So it's more about changing the way you see the world.
Exactly. It's about seeing Vishnu's presence in absolutely everything.
So how does that play out in someone's life? What does it mean to actually live with that kind of devotion?
Well, imagine approaching everything you do, every interaction you have, with a sense of love and reverence for Vishnu. It's about seeing that divine spark in everyone and treating everyone with compassion and kindness.
So it's not about withdrawing from the world or just being passive. It's about engaging with the world in a more conscious and connected way.
Precisely. Bhakti is about aligning your thoughts, your words, your actions with the divine will.
Yeah.
It's about realizing that we're not separate from Vishnu, but a part of this incredible web of existence.
It's like we're all threads in the same tapestry woven together by Vishnu's grace.
I like that analogy.
But hold on a second. I have a question about this whole thing about Vishnu fulfilling Indradumna's desires.
What do you mean?
Well, the text mentions that Vishnu was like pleased with Indradumna's devotion and that he fulfilled all of his desires.
Right.
How do we know that actually happened? Was it just like a belief in Indradumna's mind, or was there something more to it?
You've hit on a really important point. The text doesn't describe Vishnu showing up in a literal physical way.
Oh, okay.
It's more about this internal transformation that's happening within Indradumna.
So it's not about Vishnu snapping his fingers and granting wishes.
No, it's much more subtle than that.
Yeah.
It's about a shift in consciousness, a deeper understanding of how the divine operates in our lives.
Okay, that makes more sense. So it's this shift in perspective, this realization of Vishnu's presence,
Right.
that ultimately leads to liberation, to moksha.
That's the idea. It's about recognizing that Vishnu isn't some distant deity, but the very essence of everything, the force that gives life to all things.
Okay, but if Vishnu is everywhere and everything like that, why is there so much suffering in the world? Why doesn't he just fix everything?
Ah, that's the million-dollar question, isn't
Yeah.
it? It's one that philosophers and theologians have been trying to answer for centuries.
Yeah, I can see that.
The Brahma Purana, like a lot of sacred texts, doesn't offer us easy answers.
I guess that's part of the mystery.
Right.
Right.
But it does seem to suggest that suffering is an inherent part of existence.
So it's not that Vishnu is ignoring suffering, but that it serves some larger purpose.
That's one interpretation. The text seems to be saying that our role is to navigate this world with devotion,
yeah.
with compassion, with the recognition of that divine spark within ourselves and every being around us.
So we're all part of something much bigger.
Exactly. It's about playing our part in that cosmic dance, even if we don't understand the choreography all the time.
That makes a lot of sense. So Indradumna's journey, this whole deep dive into Hindu mythology, it's not just some ancient story. It's like a guide for living a more meaningful life right now.
Exactly. It's a reminder that we're not alone in our search for meaning, for connection, for freedom.
Yeah.
It's a journey that countless people have taken before us, and the wisdom contained within these texts, it can offer us guidance and inspiration.
That's incredible how these stories can still resonate with us after thousands of years.
It's true. They offer these really powerful insights into what it means to be human and how we understand reality.
So we've talked about Indradumna's longing for Vishnu,
Right.
his philosophical reflections, the cycle of samsara, the power of devotion, and the idea of liberation. Is there anything else we can learn from this excerpt of the Brahma Purana? What else stands out?
Oh, it also really emphasizes the importance of right action, of living ethically.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, you'll notice that the text condemns people who speak badly of Vishnu or disrespect him. It's suggesting that attaining liberation isn't just about personal devotion.
So it's not just about what you believe.
No, it's about aligning your actions with those divine principles.
So true devotion isn't just a feeling, it's a way of being in the world.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's about acting with integrity, with compassion.
It makes sense. It's not enough to just say you believe in Vishnu. You have to show it in how you live your life.
Right.
There's one thing that's still kind of puzzling me, though.
What's that?
Well, earlier we were talking about how Indradumna was so fixated on finding the perfect material for a statue of Vishnu.
Oh, yeah, I remember.
What's the meaning behind that? What's so important about that detail?
That's a really insightful question. It points to something really important in Hindu tradition.
What's that?
It's the use of images and symbols to represent the divine.
Okay.
So remember how Indradumna was agonizing over whether to use stone or clay or wood?
Yeah, he seemed really torn about it.
That's because he knew deep down that you could never truly capture Vishnu's essence.
You couldn't contain him in a physical object.
Exactly. The statue is just a representation.
Kind of like a focal point for devotion.
That's it. But the true essence of Vishnu goes way beyond any material limitations.
So it's like trying to fit the ocean into a teacup.
Perfect analogy.
Yeah.
You could try all you want, but you'll never capture the vastness of it.
So Hindu tradition uses all these different symbols and images because...
Well, each symbol, each image points to a different aspect of Vishnu.
Yeah.
But none of them can fully encompass everything that he is.
So they're like different windows into the divine.
Yes. Each one offering a unique perspective, but none of them showing the whole picture.
That makes so much sense. And that's why it's important to approach these symbols with humility and reverence, realizing that they're pointing us towards something much greater.
They're guides, not the destination itself.
Okay, so how do we avoid getting stuck on the symbol and missing the reality? How can we connect with something that's ultimately beyond our comprehension?
Now, that's a profound question that takes us to the very heart of the spiritual journey. It all comes back to bhakti, doesn't it? Devotion. That's what the Brahma Purana seems to be saying through Indradumna's story.
But we talked about devotion before.
I did.
So is this something different, or are we talking about the same thing?
It's the same idea, but maybe think of it like this.
Okay.
Bhakti isn't just about, offering prayers or going through the motions of rituals.
Right.
It's not like a one-time thing you check off your list. It's more of a way of life,
So it's this ongoing process of cultivating love and surrender to the divine.
Exactly.
So it's less about like outward displays of piety,
Right.
and more about an inner transformation, like shifting how we approach every part of our lives.
You got it. It's about recognizing that divine presence in every single moment, in every interaction.
So instead of trying to escape from the world,
Uh-huh.
it's about engaging with it differently.
Precisely. The Brahma Purana seems to be saying that the world itself is a manifestation of the divine, and that even our smallest actions can have a ripple effect on the whole.
It's like we're all dancers in this huge cosmic ballet.
I love that.
And the choices we make, even our intentions, they influence the entire performance.
That's a beautiful way to put it.
Mm.
And the Brahma Purana suggests that by cultivating that devotion, by aligning ourselves with that divine energy, we can help bring harmony and balance to that cosmic dance.
So all of this talk about Indradumna's journey, this deep dive into Hindu mythology,
Yeah,
it's not just some ancient story, it's actually relevant to us today.
definitely. It reminds us that this search for meaning and connection and liberation,
Right.
it's something that people have been grappling with for centuries.
Yeah, we're not alone in asking these questions.
Exactly. And the wisdom in these ancient texts can still guide us and inspire us on our own journeys.
It's amazing how these stories can still speak to us after all this time.
I know. It's like they tap into something so fundamental,
Yeah.
something that transcends time and culture. Those big questions about who we are and why we're here.
Those really deep existential questions.
Exactly.
So what would you say is the main takeaway from Indradumna's story? If you could boil it down to one core message, what would it be?
I think it would be that the divine isn't separate from us.
Okay.
It's present in every moment, in every being.
Mhm.
It's woven into the very fabric of existence.
And by cultivating that devotion.
Yes, by opening our hearts and minds to that reality, that's how we can experience a true sense of connection
And purpose.
and ultimately liberation.
That's a beautiful thought. It's like a reminder that connecting with the divine isn't about escaping from the world.
Right.
It's about embracing it with more awareness, with compassion and love.
Absolutely.
Well, thank you so much for joining us on this incredible journey through the Brahma Purana,
My pleasure.
exploring King Indradumna's quest for Vishnu. That was fascinating. Until next time, keep seeking, keep questioning.
And keep diving deep.
That's right. Dive deep into the mysteries of life.